and Moors in Spain by Jos Krauskopf, whatever. Let's go inside and let's blow up the writing large. I want everyone to see it.
All praises. On the second day of January, 1481, the Inquisition commenced operation in the city of Seville with Thomas de Torquemada as Inquisitor General of Castile and Aragon.
So this is the Inquisition, what they call sometimes the Spanish Inquisition, where they were inquiring if you were keeping God's laws or not, where they were inquiring whether you were Christian or not. And when they say Christian, they're talking about white supremacy Christian. Everybody understand that? Go ahead.
A few years later, it found its way into every prominent town of Spain and confined itself everywhere almost wholly to the Jews.
Everywhere was against the Jews. Go ahead.
The severity and savage alacrity of it may best be learned from the appalling fact that during the 18 years of Torquemada's ministry, an average of more than 6,000 convicted persons suffered annually from this cruel tribunal by burning.
So if they found us keeping any kind of commandments, they burned us. It was called auto de fe. They burned us alive. Go ahead.
Or by condemnation to lifelong slavery.
So in case you was wondering who this was, who was condemned to slavery? Our people. It's not talking about Caucasians. It's talking about our people condemned to lifelong slavery. This is what Pope Nicholas had done. Go ahead.
Or by endless torture, making an average of nearly 17 a day, and the entire number punished during its existence in Spain from 1481 to 1808 amounted to 340,000 persons.
You see how many people? But look at the years. Remember, the slave trade started in 1441 to 1865. So all this was going on at the same time. Exactly. Read the next part.
All this to protect the interests of religion.
Christianity is a religion it's talking about. Go ahead.
All this for offenses so trivial that our blood boils with indignation at the very thought of the heinous cruelty. It was sufficient to burn a convert as a relapsed heretic.
Right. So if you were converts were called Marranos or conversos. Two mean the same thing, meaning a Jew that converted to Christianity. The converso was a willing convert. The Marrano was the forced convert. Okay, so read that part again.
It was sufficient to burn a convert as a relapsed heretic.
Yeah, he fallen back into keeping the laws, the commandments. Go ahead.
Upon the mere accusations of crimes such as these, that he wore better clothes or cleaner linen on the Jewish Sabbath than on other days.
So this is how they identified us. Once we said we were conversos or Marranos, they said, nah, he's lying, his wife is lying. Look, they got today's so-called Sabbath that they keep. Look, they got clean clothes on. They got new clothes on. This is how one of the ways they identified us. Read on.
That he had no fire in his house on the Jewish Sabbath.
Look, they're not even cooking on the Sabbath. They're not conversos. They're not Marranos. These guys are practicing the commandments. This is how they identified us. Go ahead.
That he ate the meat of animals slaughtered by Jews.
Right, had to be killed a certain way. Go ahead.
That he abstained from eating pork.
He don't even eat pork. Their family don't eat pork. I tried, I went over there, I said, eat some pork. And they said, no. So that's how they identified us. These were their fake friends. Go ahead.
That he gave his child a Hebrew name.
Look at that. He gave his child a Hebrew name. Go ahead.
And yet he was prohibited by law under severe penalties from giving a Christian name.
A Marrano or converso couldn't give a Christian name. So what kind of name could we give? We couldn't give a Jew name, an Israelite name. Go ahead.
That on the Day of Atonement, he had asked forgiveness.
Look, he's asking for forgiveness on this day. This is those Jew holidays. Go ahead.
That he had laid his hands in blessing upon his child's
Remember
head.
how Jacob, was it Jacob? With Ephraim, yeah, Ephraim and Manasseh. How they blessed the kids. We put the hand on the children's head. They said, nah. Go ahead.
That he had laid his hands in blessing upon his child's head without the sign of the cross.
He didn't do that damn sign. Like, you know how Northern Kingdom be doing that daggone sign? We didn't do that. So they said, all that, see, Northern Kingdom thought they made that up. No, that came from Spain, from Rome. That's where it came from. Go ahead.
And numerous others equally as harmless.
Give me the next page. Zoom in. Watch this.
Another shipload was cast out by a
So those of us that did not convert willingly or convert by force, we had given money to allow ourselves to be taken someplace else. So Spain said, listen good, because y'all can read the book on your own. Spain said, we'll let you go to Africa. You can go to Africa. So now watch this. Read this, Yuri.
Another shipload was cast out by a barbarous captain upon the African coast, where the African savages pounced down upon them and abandoned themselves to frightful cruelties.
So what do y'all think happened? Who were these Africans that were so savage they pounced upon us? These were Hamites. Right, these were Hamites. Go ahead.
The men and youths they sold into slavery. The defenseless women were brutally ravished.
So the men and youth, they sold into slavery. The defenseless women were brutally raped. That word ravished means raped. Go ahead.
The children at their mother's breasts, the aged and the sick and the infirm were mutilated and tortured and murdered by the thousands.
By the what?
By the thousands.
They were killing us by the thousands. And you see how it says mutilated? That's like that boy they just mutilated in over here, Mississippi. Okay, give me the next page for time's sake. And zoom in. Raise it up. Yeah, let's start right there. Pay close attention. I'm giving y'all the history of Revelation 13, verse 7. Go ahead.
Nearly 150,000 souls made their way by land to Portugal.
So those of our people that was in Spain made their way to Portugal. We wanted to make a deal with Portugal to allow us to stay there. Go ahead.
Whose king, John II, dispensed with his scruples of conscience so far as to allow his greed to triumph over his creed. He granted them a passage through his dominion on their way to Africa.
Where were we going?
To Africa.
To Africa. Go ahead.
And the permission of an 8-month stay in his realm in consideration of a tax of $8 a head.
So we had to pay $8 a head. Go ahead.
Which immense sum he levied from the native Portuguese Jews. Ferdinand and Isabella threatened.
Y'all heard of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, them two demons? Go ahead.
And Torquemada incited the Portuguese clergy.
So Spain was inciting Portugal against us. Go ahead.
But John II had over $1 million to quicken his conscience and to wage war if necessary. And expecting it, he instantly put such of the Jewish exiles who were manufacturers of arms and miners to work.
So this guy, King John, said to the Jews, those of you that know how to make weapons, I need y'all to make weapons because Spain just might fight against us here in Portugal for me not slaughtering you Jews. Go ahead.
But his clemency was of short duration. It soon gave way to the most frightful era of the exile sufferings, when the news reached the homeless exiles of the atrocious crimes inflicted upon their brethren on their way to the African coast by inhuman captains.
So the captains that took us on ship, those dudes was wicked as hell. Go ahead.
And heartless crews, seeing nothing but cruel death before them, whether going or whether remaining. They preferred meeting death in Portugal to exposing themselves to the inhumanity and beastly lust.
So our people, listen, just kill me now. Just burn me alive. All right? I'm not converting, and I'm not getting on that boat to go to Africa where you're going to rape my wife and murder me and my kids. So they said, just kill me now. That's what it's saying. Go ahead.
To exposing themselves to the inhumanity and beastly lust and tortures of barbarous pirate sailors and African savages.
Yeah, because the Hamites was attacking us. Go ahead.
And listlessly awaiting death and praying for it. They remained after the time purchased for their stay had passed away. To their misfortune, the plague broke out in Portugal.
So the plague is what they call the Black Plague. They call it the Black Plague because it was black people. And they blamed us for the plague. That's why they called it the Black Plague, which was really the bubonic plague. Go ahead.
To their misfortune, the plague broke out in Portugal and raged with deathly fury. Immediately, the church arose, held the Jews responsible
You see that? Held the Jews responsible for the plague. Go ahead.
for the visitation of the plague and lashed the populace into a relentless fury.
They got all the Edomites against our people. These are the reason we are catching a plague is because of these black Jews right here. Go ahead.
Because of the visitation of the plague and the breach of contract on the part of the Jews. The king's creed awoke again simultaneously with the reawakening of his greed. He issued an edict which threw even that of Torquemada into the shade. All Jewish children below 14 years of age
Listen good to this. All Jewish children, these are our people, all Jewish children below 14 years of age
were torn from their parents' arms, dragged into the church,
dragged into the church. Zoom in.
baptized,
They forced baptism on. That's why some of y'all still be going crazy. And we're going to get baptized. All that comes from this time period. They put it in our minds during the time of slavery, and y'all still, we got to get water baptized. This comes from this history right here. Go ahead.
those under 3 years of age were given to Christians
Given to Christians. Go ahead.
to receive a Christian education, or in other words, be raised as slaves.
Do y'all see that? Can I have a bomb? That's what it means to be a Christian, to be raised as a slave. Go ahead.
Those between 3 and 10 years of age were put on board of a ship and conveyed to the newly discovered unwholesome island of St. Thomas,
St. Thomas is on the west coast of Africa. Go ahead.
called Ilhas Perdidas, the Isle of Perdition, which was colonized by Portuguese condemned criminals to fare there as best they could. Those between 10 and 14 years were sold as slaves.
Raise it up now. Raise
Hey,
it up. Yes.
You guys remember what we just read? Remember when Esau come in this part of the world? Esau did the same thing to the tribes of Gad. They cut their children head. They sent them to boarding school. They were teaching them Christianity. They convert all of them to Christianity. It's the same thing. They baptize them, same thing, exact thing. As a matter of fact, there's a big thing right now going in Canada. I don't remember what that. It's a big thing going on in Canada about that. A lot
Found
of the kids were-
500 skeletons.
Yes,
in
we're
grave
buried.
sites.
We're buried. So those things happen in this part of the world too.
Yes. Okay, Yuri, go ahead.
The Jews have experienced fully the unequaled skill of the church in administering pain. Mothers cast themselves at the feet of the tyrants and pitifully begged to be taken with their babes.
So the mothers didn't want to be separated from their children. Go ahead.
They were heartlessly thrust aside. Hundreds of mothers, mad with despair, ran behind the ships as they carried off the idols of their heart and perished in the waves.
They died in the water trying to follow the ships. Go ahead.
The serene fortitude with which the exiled people had borne so many and such grievous calamities gave way at last and was replaced by the wildest paroxysms of despair. Piercing shrieks of anguish filled the land. Childless and brokenhearted, they now sought to leave the land, but they were told that they had forfeited their right and they were given the choice between baptism and slavery.
Baptism and slavery. Same thing. Go ahead.
Thousands, after enduring all they did, after leaving their beloved Spain and all their wealth and ease, submitted to baptism.
Our people submitted to baptism. Go ahead.
Now, in the hope of being reunited with their children.
Some of us thought if we get baptized, they're going to reunite us with our kids. Go ahead.
Thousands were sold as slaves. Yet, prior to their being sold, they were submitted to tortures, cruelties, outrages, too revolting, too repulsive, too heartrending to be here narrated.
Right. Now let's go to the next one. Let's see what happened to our children. Go to the next image. So this is what they did when they took our children, baptized our kids, and our children became slaves. These images are throughout Europe. These are images from France, Germany, Netherlands. And I remember when I was in school, we had art class. They would show us images like this, but they never told us our people were slaves. Okay, give me the next one. Slave. These were the Jew slaves, the Judean slaves for Esau that were baptized as Christians. Go ahead. We had to dress them and all that. Go ahead. Look at the little boy. Got to put on her jewelry. Yes, these are famous art pieces. Go ahead. Oh, there you go, right there. I was like, where the Jew at? On the far right. Far right. Y'all see him? The next one? Yes, right there. That's him right there. Next one. Here's another one. This is the Netherlands. You could tell by the way they dress. These people are dressed. It's not, these are different places in Europe. Okay. Next one. Yep. Slaves, Christian slaves, they made us. Highlight the little boy. Yep, right there. Families like a pet, like a dog. Give me the next one. Yep, that's him right there. This is what they did to us. Go ahead. And that's in the east on the other side. This is about 14 years old, that one. That's a little monkey. Give me the next one. Yep. There you go, right there. You got a silver collar around the neck. A silver collar on the neck. Mm-hmm. Give me the next one. Right there in the back. I see him. Yep. This is the history of what we just read. This is what Revelation 13:7 is talking about. Go ahead. Next one. Highlight the boy. He kind of dark over there. Yeah, right there. Right there. Yep. Give me the next one. Got to watch the horses and the dogs, right? Next one.